Hey, what's going on, everyone? I just wanted to make a video talking about my favorite Fujifilm lens and probably one of the best lenses that they ever made or make. And that's because of what it offers, the versatility. The price is a little high, but it's around the same area. I'll explain that as well. But just everything you could do with this lens, it being a constant f4, the Fujifilm 10-24 f4 OIS image stabilization, optical image stabilization, is probably Fuji's best lens in my opinion for what you can do with the price tag you're paying. And that's this little guy right here. This is the 10-24 Fuji f4 lens. And once again, I mean, that just fits kind of just like in your hand super easily compared to something else. And one of the lenses I have to compare this to is because it's about a 15 to 35 millimeter full frame equivalent, because this is made for crop sensors. Fuji doesn't make full frame, they are crop sensor cameras. But that being said, it's one of their best lenses out there, and you have to kind of compare it to the Canon 16 to 35 UHSM2 or whatever f4 constant lens as well, which runs for about $1,000, and that's what this does as well. It's about $1,000. With that being said, I think it's worth every penny, and once again, one of the biggest reasons I say is for size. I mean, this lens right here is amazing for having on your camera almost at all times. If you don't like a 24 to 105, this 10 to 24, or once again, 15 to 35, 16 to 35 type lens, being on your Fuji camera is a phenomenal option, just because I think it's great for, wide angle photography, ultra wide angle if you want to get some crazy look in there as well, but something accurate as well, especially when you zoom into 24 millimeters. Great travel lens, a vlogging lens, just because of the amount of frame you have and the options that you have. Architecture, real estate, and I think I said landscape. But you can just do a lot. Event, wedding stuff as well. This is a perfect wide angle that you can have on there. Some people say that you can use it for portraits, and it's good because you have that constant f4 lens. It's not variable, meaning when you zoom, the aperture doesn't change. So you have from f4 to f22, so you basically have the full range. But the one things people don't like about f4 is you can't go wider, you can't go 2.8, 1.4, etc. But you know that buying this lens. But an f4 in literally most cases is amazing. It can work. It's very sharp, and that's another thing about this 10-24 lens. It's extremely sharp. There's several different elements and dispersions and everything on this lens that really render sharpness and color accuracy very well, what Fuji's known for as well. So it's just a blended greatness into this tiny lens right here. And it's super easy to use as well. I mean, you basically just have a focus ring at the front, and then your zoom ring here. And the cool part is it's an internal zoom, so you're not seeing any zooming of the lens right here. So it's a little bit more discreet, a little bit more better for the profile. It's not a large lens compared to like a Canon 16 to 35. The one thing I will say though is you can have an option right here to control the aperture from the camera or from the aperture ring right here. It is a bit too loose though, in my opinion. I'd rather have it a little bit more stiff so that way you don't accidentally bump the aperture if you want to use it on your lens. But pretty much that's my only downside to this thing right here. And the one cool thing is right here is it's threaded as well. It's a 72 millimeter filter mount, so you can use pretty much everything on it. I'll show you. So I have a 10-stop ND filter right here with a 72 millimeter to 82 millimeter step-up ring. And I mean, once again, it's threaded, so you can just thread it on there, and you're able to use whatever professional filters you have there as well. Step-up rings are a good option, but 72 millimeters, 77, 82 are pretty professional and very common in the field. But you can use, filters on here as well. There's no weird drop-in thing or anything, but just something some people ask about. This does have filter threads at the front, and it's 72 millimeters. So as I mentioned, this does have image stabilization. It is very accurate. There's not much else to say about that. And it does have a stepping motor, so for the most part, it's pretty quiet when zooming, especially in regards to, you're doing autofocus or for video, so you won't notice it a ton. It's pretty smooth going back and forth as well. Really, the two other things I want to cover is it's not a weather sealed lens, so you don't have the rubber gasket on the outside toward the rear element, so keep that in mind there. And if it was, I'd say it's definitely more worth the $1,000 price tag that you can get it, but once again, you could find this a lot for like $750. So maybe that kind of worrisome or thing that you want might deter a little bit for a cheaper price as well. And the other thing I want to say is this is an ultra wide lens, and once you get to 10 millimeters, that's ultra wide. That is a super wide angle. You're going to get distortion throughout the frame, and that's because of the way it is. If you're all the way out, you're looking at a building, you know, you get distortion around the frame, and the building looks further than it is because that's how it's built. You would zoom in to the 24 millimeter end, and you get something a little bit more realistic and less distorted. So watch your edges, watch your frames, and yeah, but sometimes that's the look you want, and that 10 millimeters, you get exactly what you need. So you get a perfect blend of wide angle to semi-normal to that 35 look with the 10-24 lens, and that's why I think that this lived on my camera for the most part. Unless I'm doing like street stuff, I throw in like a 50 millimeter because I like a little bit tighter there. But this 10-24 lens, by far one of the best investments I ever made. And I think it's one of the easiest lenses to recommend to buy. 10-24 f4, embrace the f4. It's not a bad thing, but this lens is phenomenal. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. If this video helped you at all, throw it a like. If you liked it at all, throw it a like. I know it's been reviewed before, but I've never heard anyone say it's their best lens. But I truly believe this is one of the best investments you can make. Fuji makes a bunch of prime lenses. It's one of their rarer zoom lenses out there. I mean, they do have an 8-16, I think, as well. And that's a little bit more extreme. I think more expensive, too. I don't 100% know offhand, but the 10-24 f4, highly, highly recommend. If you have any questions, let me know down below.